Echo, echo, echo. Echo, echo, echo. Oh, that's a nice delay. Number one. No, it's not a race. No. How are you, dude? You gotta love that delay. No echoes for you. No, it's just on my end. I think from some of the tweaks I was doing with the previous effort. Is the audio okay? I didn't want to crank it too high, but also not have it too low. That's probably a reasonable assertion to want to have it just right. Those three bears were onto something, huh? Test, test, test. And it's sitting at about in the little bit of the yellow, which is where I like to see it. We don't want it redlining. Nobody wants that super loud voice. Just checking around. Okay. Touch there. Get rid of that one. Okay. That should be a bit better. Sounds like it's gone now. Yeah, echo. But again, scroll up real quick. Oh, sorry. No green tunic. Odd looking animation. Something tells me they may be hiding something. This trailer could be equally misleading as it is revealing. Oh. How did I miss that at the start? I just got number one straight off the bat. That's weird. Another stream. Yeah, no, sorry, Dan. It was, this is my OCD nature at its finest. I had made a commitment in the post that it was going to be obviously the direct, and then there was going to be a post part to the stream. And that was kind of mentioned in that video I dropped last night, you know. What's your plan? How you gonna deal with it? Where you gonna put those emotions later? And yeah, so I said I was going to do it, and I'm one of those people that if I say I'm going to do something, I have to do it. Otherwise it will bug me. That's how you become a man of your word, or a woman of your word. It doesn't really matter what gender, but word means something to me. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. Or at least you try to the best of your abilities. Not something people should hold you against. Fair point, still can't get over that hype. Yeah, and that was kind of the main purpose for me of wanting to just come and chill out for a bit afterwards, was actually, I knew that, look, everything went swimmingly well and bang in line with what I expected. In fact, you know, perfectly in line with what I expected in the way that Nintendo exceeded my expectations anyway, which is awesome. The amount of material in there is phenomenal. Little Smith said Zelda isn't dead, but from the visuals and the end, could she be dead? So I'm gonna put this up now in saying there's no way I've sunk in hardly any of that entire trailer, not even close. I wouldn't be anywhere near comfortable to say with any certain conviction that anything is fact at this point. Even if I theorized, I probably wouldn't, let's be honest. But she could be. She very well could be. I think though, for the sake of Little Smith stuff, I certainly wouldn't have been going, yeah, she's definitely gone, because that would crush. But there's definitely, I know what you mean. There was a bit of a deity aspect to her. It looked a bit later on. Ooh, that game audio just crept up a notch, didn't it? Is that louder for you guys as well? A little too loud? I'm just going to assume you're saying yes, because I'm going to turn it down a touch anyway. Because if it's... That was the same thing yesterday, and it was a bit loud for everyone. There was just so much to take in. One of the best parts is with the NSO, the only games not on the Switch, Twilight Princess. Yeah, do you know what, Dan? And that's kind of... I knew it was going to be big, and I knew there'd be a lot to take out of it. And you could just slam it down for the entire day. The amount of stuff we could cross is phenomenal. I thought it was a good idea to step away and have the break, number one, because I did actually have to deal with some work stuff that I technically was dealing with prior to the stream and part at the start as well. But also, I thought it was a good chance to just step away, take a deep breath. I didn't know what I was going to be in for with the stream. That was just, amazing. And it's easy to get carried away and just sort of... It's such a cool thing, and it's what I love doing. So I wanted to just take a step away and actually follow through on what I'd said, which is, it's not a race, and savor the moment. And I did, and it was lovely while I was doing some work stuff. But took a deep breath in that, and the first thing I did when I grabbed my pen is wrote down about the Game Boy and the GBA and, the old Zelda games, which... For what I'd been waiting to see, that was the first thing that stuck out in my mind. Was like, man, I don't want to lose that thought. That was such a cool thing. And yeah, I agree. Darth, you are one of the only people, like 9 different people have already posted full trailer breakdown videos. Yeah, I'm not in a rush. I'll do one, but it's just going to be an initial review. This isn't a race. And in fairness, and I'll say it right here, right now, it doesn't matter. No one's going to care whether I say this or not. I will make a point of not looking at anybody else's theories at all until I look at the trailer. And as much as I'll talk to you guys today, and that, I'm happy to do that. But I don't want to be taken in any direction, and I don't want to overly commit to a fact yet. And there's been a lot of work getting up to it. It's tempting to just jump in there and kind of point to things and go, yeah, that's awesome. And I will still do something. But I think if there was any experience I got out of that last one where I missed it because of, reality, is I was so cut. And when I finally actually got the chance to do the analysis and get, it was rushed from my end. I missed some of that. Rushed from my end, but... basically, I realised how much there was to cover, and that was again, it was started like a part 1 type thing. I rambled too much, I think, but I thought, yeah, I missed the chance to get it out there for people to really have a listen. People did check it out, which was astonishing. So that was an eye opener. I think that taught me the lesson that you don't have to bust the gate to get an idea out there. If it's a good idea and it's well put, I assume it was anyway, but people be happy to check it out when they can. And you can't necessarily claim a theory, so to speak. You can have a theory, and you can have a theory and someone else, and you can both not talk about it and come up at the same time. It's not like that, but how you articulate it, how you put it together and tie it in with things probably end up being different anyway. But man, I see more views go to half of the absolute bomb clickbait stuff that is nothing. And that's not for the Zelda community, I just mean in general on YouTube. It's like, and in fairness, some of those things are awesome. Like, the cute pet videos. They are absolutely addictive. If you've ever done that accidentally, like gone in the adorable pet videos, it's like an endorphin rush. There must be something to it, because you can just sit there and watch them for ages. They're adorable. There's a lot going on in the chat, and I'm doing a great job at nothing. Dan, also audio's good. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm not going to make this one a long one, and I probably won't do a lot in terms of progressing the game. I'm going to try, but I just wanted it to be a chance for us to just chill. For me to probably say exactly what I said. I'm not going to try and kill myself and smash out a billion theories. Hey, mystery. How NZ Power? I got it. NZ Power. I'm going to go with that. New Zealand Power? Are you from NZ? Yes. Excellent. I'm going to assume that. Maybe not, but hopefully. That would be cool. One of my besties from my youth lives in New Zealand. New Zealand Power. South or north? Sorry, this is not important to anyone else, but I'm like, yay. I'm going to say south. It's a guess, right? It's a guess. Is it South Island would be less likely, but it'd be a. I mean, it's not quite 50-50. Oh, you didn't mean New Zealand. Oh, see, I got excited about nothing, but nickname from long ago, oopsie daisy. That's cool. Hey, I still like it. NZ Power. It's good. You know what? Cool nickname. Everyone's got really cool nicknames, by the way. I love that. And Darth, the eyes open, you're joking. Which part's that? The deluxe. Oh, is that on the deluxe edition? Is 130 generally 130 US, I suppose. Oh, look. I think in fairness to Nintendo, that's probably, they could probably charge whatever they wanted for it. I mean, you got fans who will be like, "Shut up and take my money." But I mean, then not that should be in the business of ripping people off, but that will sell out like hotcakes. They probably got to try and price it to a point where they can meet production and not actually annoy a whole heap of people as well. Yeah, that's right. We need to get the blue flame. By the way, this is a point on why I'm so complimentary of my man Big J. He does a good job of trying to keep me on track when I rant. But yeah, just to sort of acknowledge, I've been working pretty hard on a few things. We've had some other stuff going on as well within the family, and a couple of things for people that it's not good for them. I've had a bit of worry, and even like I don't want to upset this person's privacy, but a valued supporter of the channel's having what I could only imagine to be a real tough time at the moment, and I think about what's happening with them as well. There's been a lot of stuff going on basically, and I've got a tendency to push myself a bit too hard. I know that. But what I have thoroughly enjoyed was the direct today and enjoying it with you guys, and just seeing Nintendo just do what they do best. That was the best part of it. They just came out and just professional showing some solid games that aren't trying to be anything other than what they are. And when it come to their top tier with Zelda, as I say, they know how to make a good game. And it gets me how, for 35 years I've seen Zelda games, and every time it's the same. Nintendo doesn't know what they're doing and stuff. And it's like, look, I get that nobody's perfect, but man, they've got a pretty good track record. I don't think you could pick a developer in the gaming community that has a higher track record of consistently performing and managing to meet expectations across so many people. And I'm not saying that as I am a starry-eyed fanboy. I'll own up to that, and you can go, yeah, but what about this? I'm just saying, statistically and factually speaking, if somebody can point to me a more consistent developer in the industry that's still around, I'd be interested to know. I totally would own it too if I was wrong, but I don't think there is. This would be some really good lore stuff to be looking at right now, probably, when we talk about Tears of the Kingdom. But back to your point, Darth, man, I think, I don't even know what time it was. It could have been half an hour. Time could have stood still, when we were slowly just clicking on things as the trailer was going through. That is an absolute feast. The amount of stuff in there, what they did so well, and rather than talk about one specific thing, I would say what I got out of that trailer and my spin on theories this whole time has been how it connects to the people making the game and how they're telling their story to you. Because for me, that's how it makes sense. That's where the heart is. And what they did is gave you a trailer that addressed so much of the concern as to were they going to be wishy-washy, was horrible not going to be different, was what did dark mean? We don't know enough about gameplay or enemies and that, and they just floored any comment that any issue. If that wasn't good enough for whatever your concerns were, then as a fan, I guess I would say I don't know what else they could have done to deliver a more bold statement. And for the Zelda theory community and people who like to react and stuff, they just gave everyone a feast. Like, I always think back to that statement from Zelda podcast, the Highland cast. It always sticks out to me, Andy. Just chuckling at him saying, you know, I'm hungry, I want a steak. They gave me a snack, I need to eat. Just the way he talked about it is so good. And yeah, they gave a feast. It was a good feast. And to his credit, Andy might go, it still wasn't enough. he's got an opinion, and I like that. But for me, that was awesome. And particularly, I suppose, seeing it from a different perspective. And apologies, I'm not seeing the chat at the minute because I'm just trying to finish a point, which I don't do very well normally. But I'm committed to doing it for this short time. Because if you're here, you might actually want to hear that. But yeah, I think seeing with you guys being in on the chat, I got a different perspective. Because for me, I'm a fanboy, I'm happy. And I know it's going to be good. And I knew that they were going to drop the trailer, and I knew it was going to be awesome. I didn't know that just from theories. I just knew that because consistently I know how this company has seemed to have an insight into my very soul when it comes to gaming and storytelling. And as somebody who grew up when you're trying to justify playing games as not just being, you know, like a kid thing, because back when I was a kid, it's exactly what it was. It was a waste of time and do something with your life. And now in today's age, you know, you've got esports and stuff. You know, Nintendo helped legitimize gaming as an art form, as a legitimate job. Man, gaming wasn't a job option when I was growing up so much. I mean, it was, but those people who pioneered it, like Miyamoto, they deserve every credit they get. They boldly went out into a place where people said, you're doing kids stuff. And they owned it. And yeah, just seeing them dance that walk today, in amongst a lot of doubt from people. And man, they just consistently deliver it and still get the doubt. It must be like, come on. Like if that was you and your job, you'd be, how many times do I need to prove to you I know what I'm doing? And that was so cool. It was just a really cool trailer. Really, really bold, really strong. It gave you plenty to think about, plenty to discuss, but it also didn't shut anything down either. Just left that nice little gap for Imagineering. And you know what? Again, as a Zelda fan, sitting here with other people who were getting worried that they weren't going to see anything, like you could almost, like just even the little bits of the chat I was watching, it was sad. Like guys were like, no, we're not going to see anything. And if I didn't see anything, I would have been like, yeah, that's cool. It's going to be even bigger. But seeing it from the perspective of people who would genuinely just devo if they didn't see something, I was so glad to see it because I was confident it would. You know, it was like, yeah, we got this. And then when they dropped it, it was like, that's a moment, not just for me, but it's a moment for them. And we got to share it. And that was exactly what I was why I did that video last night. Was not anything about, are we going to see Tears? No, of course we're going to see Tears of the Kingdom. It was like, how are you going to feel about it? How are you going to mark the moment? Because, yeah, those moments are fleeting. You don't get them back. Yeah, we should go get that blue flame. And again, I'm not trying to ignore the chat, but I will say, Mr. Az, if you are there, did Gwen and Max get to see it? I would love to know. Because being the younger siblings, I wonder what that trailer was like for them. I mean, it might have been a touch scary, but hopefully it was epic. Yes, and yes, it did. Awesome. Did they love it? That's super cool. Super cool. Yeah, the reactions from you guys was about the trailer was the best. You really, really enjoyed it. It was awesome. And yeah, the tough part for me now, if I'm being fair, is to not just immediately want to jump in and just splice and dice every little bit of that video, because that's what I feel like I want to do. That's actually probably the last thing I should do. If that makes any sense to anybody. Why? It's because been trying to learn as I get older that sometimes rushing into things too quickly doesn't pay off. Even if it looks like it does at the time, later on you regret it because you were trying to move too fast that you didn't enjoy it. And yeah, just even with the situation that's within our family at the moment, a very beloved family member is not very well. And it's, yeah, not good. It's concerning. And I can say that as much as I've enjoyed this thing today, I'm worried about that person, and I, would think it would not be good if you didn't get to make the most of the time that you've got with people. And I got to enjoy that moment, and yeah, I got to enjoy it with you guys. What more could you ask for? First world problems, so they say. Max did, but I'm pretty sure Gwen just sees a harder game, bless her heart. She really struggles with Breath of the Wild. How old is she, Darth? If you don't mind me asking. Because I know Bella did at the start as well, young age. Hey, Big Jack. Yeah, that's probably about the same as Bella, or when I was trying to get into Zelda. This might be a bad idea. Big J come in just in time to see me potentially make a bad move. I tried to introduce you to Wind Waker first, actually, but I was really careful because we'd played some game stuff together. I wanted to sort of let her find her way, and so she was getting stuck on the first dungeon, and natural tendency, I just wanted to jump in and do it, and I really tried hard not to. And because I thought if I do that, it just ruins the experience. That I wanted her to have that same experience I had, where you feel like you've just solved like the mysteries of the world. And unfortunately for her, that first dungeon just, yeah, like you said, the hardness did not click, and she still hasn't gone back to that game. Yet trounces it in much harder things with Breath of the Wild, but I think that it just gave her an experience where the game wasn't fun. And yeah, so I get where you're coming from with your little sister. And I guess if you get anything out of my story, sometimes as much as you can want that sibling or that close one to love that game, might not be the time. But that said, I know my daughter, and she is a gamer through and through. So is her mum. Even though I don't think my beautiful wife would have thought herself as a gamer, but she's a very good one. And she will get to that game eventually in time. I know she will. And I think it will mean more to her than when she does. That's what I'm learning in life anyway, as I get old now. I've still never beaten LTTP. Why do I not get that reference? Link to the Past. My God, it's because I never abbreviate it. A Link to the Past. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, it was my favourite game. It's one I've beaten a lot of times, but I do remember the last time I played it, and it had been a while past. I got stuck on one of the dungeons in the Dark Forest. Like, not stuck, it wasn't passable, but it was more challenging than I remembered. And I think it was also trying to find a particular aspect in it. That's why I tip my hat to, we've talked to her before. See, Big J, I'm off track again. I should technically pick up a torch, but let's face it, we know we can do better, right? What are the odds? It's probably not the best way of doing it. We'll just poke a club or something. Again, got massively off track. Hey, Tiny. How you going, dude? Tiny. We love you, Tiny. I wasn't even running in the right direction. That's sad. Oh, I was thinking of... I knew there was something come like, Tiny, there's something I'm going to say. Minish, did you see it? Did you see it? Once I will explain what the hero's path is meant to be, and I haven't touched back on it since. It's evolved. It's becoming something that it wasn't intended to be, but then it kind of is. So I'll explain that in one sec. Minish and Oracles. Yep, it was awesome. I'm waiting to see what Tiny's take on that, because Minish is her jam. Not her jam, sorry. You did see the Minish? Yes. And were you excited? I'm glad I'm not alone. Yep. It's awesome. I was so excited. As soon as I saw it, I'm like, Tiny, Minish, yes. That was icing on the cake. That was absolute icing. I didn't think we were going to get that. Fun fact, the blue flame can activate Sheikah bombs. Get out. You know what? I should get some wood though. That's complete distraction. So you probably got a good example there, NZ, of what's happening with the hero's path. So technically, the hero's path is a very cheeky, let's call it alliteration. That's extreme. It's not alliteration. It's just straight out stolen off that concept, which is the hero's path in the DLC. But in fairness, it kind of made sense, right? Like, that was the idea for me. What I wanted to do, and the backstory is, in setting out to do a Zelda theory, I didn't think anyone was really going to watch them. And I was doing it as a thing with my daughter, and it was awesome. It was a bonding experience. We'd played Zelda, and she was into theory stuff, and we were talking theories, like watching other theory channels on YouTube, like you guys would do. And so we were like, she wanted to do something on YouTube, and so we thought we'd do a Zelda video as a thing that we both liked together, and that was really cool. And we did one about playable Zelda. That's why that whole topic's quite personal to me, because I learnt a lot about the perspective of another player, seeing how my daughter approached it. So anyway, as it goes, I think my OCD nature of trying to get things perfect probably put her off a little bit. It was a lot harder work than maybe it should have been. And, for whatever reason, we did it. And I don't know if she was that keen to keep kicking on. She's good at everything she does, but she has to want to do it, But for me, I kind of realised that I didn't think I did the best job of it, so I just wanted to do another one and get it better. And then hopefully if somebody saw it, because I didn't have a concept of how YouTube worked then, and I still really don't, if being fair. I kind of half get the algorithm, and then other times I've got no idea what's going on with it. I think it's kind of a mystery. But long story short, and it's not long story short, it is a long story getting longer. I kind of just wanted to do a good theory. And I think even to this day, I don't feel like I've quite nailed it yet. And if I do, that might be good for me. Like, I wanted to do a theory video that I felt had something in it that represented what the game meant to me. So yeah, as it stands, how that relates to this is I then obsessively kept doing videos, and I was doing ones about my wife playing as well, and her amazing way of dying in hilarious fashion, which is a talent. And sure enough, a couple of people started watching. That was awesome. Then more people watched. And then I had one video that a lot of people watched, and I was going into hospital at the time, and it was a bit of a scary time as well. So it was like a really motivating and super amazing thing to happen at a time where you're kind of scared and a bit worried and feeling a little bit vulnerable. I certainly was at that point. I'm a big bloke and pretty strong, but I won't lie to you, I was a scared little boy inside at that point. And that just seemed like something that happened at the right time to just make you have that distraction and feel good about something and not worry about something as much. So I kind of took that as a bit of a sign that, maybe there was something good about doing that, because my initial reaction with anything with something that goes well, and particularly social media stuff, is if it's going well, run before it goes bad. It's like you're having a good time at a party with people and they laugh at a joke. You're like, well, goodbye. You kind of George Costanza it and get out, so you don't do a bad joke. But as it was, I took that as a bit of a sign to challenge myself and maybe keep doing it, because I nearly had a meltdown. I was like, how am I going to do a video that other people want to watch? And it was such a funny thing for my wife and daughter, I think, because I just went into this kind of weird perplexity of, oh my God, there's so much pressure. And they're like, you don't have to do it. It's like, no, but they watched it and they said they would like to see another one. It's like, you don't owe anybody anything. It's like, yes, I do. They gave up their time. This is the weird kind of mindset that I have anyway. I now realise, by the way, I'm not completely clueless. I've figured it out now that it is a choice. But at the time, I was just so thankful that people had watched that I wanted to give them something that was actually worth watching in my mind. And so as it stands, I kept doing more theories and more things along the way. And so this ended up coming up after realising that 12 months had gone by of trying to make videos that I hadn't actually played the game that I love for playing the game in that entire 12 months. I couldn't remember the last time I'd done a shrine or anything or moved the character in a direction, because when I played the game I moved in that direction because I wanted to go see what was there or have fun. And I hadn't done that in 12 months. What I had done is take and link all around Hyrule to get shots and camera angles for a video. And I kind of realised, well, what's the point? If you want to do this thing and make a video, you should be playing the game as well. So, yeah, I never had the intention to be a streamer, but seeing how other people stream, it became an idea that maybe you could stream and play the game and somehow get to do both and talk with people and get some feedback about what they think about their theories, and they could put their theories up and stuff. It was just a grand idea. And I thought also, in playing Zelda, I played Zelda for a lot of years and I kind of know some things about it, and I wasn't a terrible gamer. Maybe I could give some helpful tips and advice, and I don't know, I was thinking like, young players like my daughter or whatever might pick up, like where to go to get apples so they don't run out of food and that. Whatever silly, helpful, I always kind of go into that mentality, if it helps one person, that's all you need, right? And so that was the plan. And I'll be honest in saying I was kind of happy if, I wasn't bothered if anybody watched it all. If I just kind of got to feel like I contributed something in my own head, but I got to play the game at the same time, I was like, win-win, absolute win-win. And it would be so much better than spending like 60 hours doing editing and moving bits of video clips. But actually playing it would be outstanding. And I also thought in my head that it might be good because I would play good. What has happened since then is not that. I've learnt a valuable lesson in trying to do multiple things at the same time. For example, I've consistently nearly got to the point of this story by not reading the chat as much. As soon as I keep looking at the chat, I get off track. But I like reading the chat. The chat is the best part of the stream. So the Hero's Path was meant to be taking that concept of that green kind of walk through, and I was going to take people from the start of the game through to the end. completion style, but point out some stuff that had come up in theories if anyone was interested or whatever. But also to try and bounce things off people theory-wise that I'd noticed in there and what their thoughts were. And you always discover something new. That's the thing, right? It was an annoying thing for me where people would be like, oh, Breath of the Wild's tapped out, there's nothing new in there. You've got to be kidding me. There's still new stuff back in literally, I'm sure there's new stuff still in Legend of Zelda, the first game. I'm sure there's stuff in there that we haven't figured out yet, or some secret. That there's just always new things being found in these games. It's awesome. So yeah, that was the plan. What has happened though is an absolute travesty of gameplay. I actually think, if it's possible, this could be the worst recorded playthrough of Breath of the Wild on YouTube, as in the skill set. What is making it, I think, worthwhile proceeding with, besides the fact that I'm just dead set on this is a chance to play the game, is the commentary and stuff from the people in the chat has been outstandingly helpful for anyone who is trying to learn how to play the game. And I am demonstrating very well what not to do. And so that's, the hero's path has now become, for me, a very good way of showing people that if I can actually get this guy to finish this game in the way I'm playing it, anyone can be a hero. And, you know, Az could show this to his little sister and go, watch this guy. It would only take a couple of hours. She'd get the hint. She would be like, you know what, I can do it. I can do this. I could beat this game. Because he can't even get from one point to the other without getting lost. He spent half an hour trying to climb a mountain, sliding down it. There's a better way to get up that mountain. And I know it sounds like it's a bit of a joke and self-deprecation, and it kind of is, but to be fair, you know, there is lessons there. And we don't need to read the manual. Okay, see? Literally spinning around in a circle. Why don't... do I need to take a picture of it, don't I? Wasn't even reading. Alright, Pura. Are you going to do your pose? Camera? What camera? I just stood there looking at you taking a picture. So in telling that story, I hadn't even taken in any dialogue, had no idea why I was walking around in a circle. And I think that is... It's almost a morbid curiosity, maybe, at this point, to see how I'm actually going to finish this game like this. I have learnt a massive respect for people who stream and read comments while they do it. It's pretty cool. I guess it's my cue. But and that said, I'm digging picking up stuff in this game again. Not just enjoying it, but noticing things I hadn't noticed before. There's quite a few things I've picked up actually, and quite a few things pointed out too. I was hoping Age of Calamity got a DLC teaser for TA. What was that? Sorry, I've missed so much of the chat, so I'm just going to straight out right now. We're good. So if I've missed something, I'm so sorry. I'm just making a point of just trying to get to it when I can. The worst playthrough of Zelda Breath of the Wild on YouTube are the ones that don't exist because they are unwilling to try. Oh, yeah. Wow. Philosophically correct, but man, you cut to the bone. That's gold. I love it. I think I got overwhelmed by the direct. I got a little choked up over Leighton and Zelda. But then was sobbing later over Unrelated. Oh, are you alright, Tiny? Because you like the heart of this team. So, I'm sorry to hear that. And, except I don't know if it'll show up on the stream. I need to try and grab something. If you ever need, by the way, reach out, drop me an email, link at GameSmiths.net, because I know you're not on Discord. But I don't really have a good way of contacting you for things. Not that I want to stalk you or anything like that. It sounds really creepy. I did, however, OCD nature, make sure I followed through on showing you that Zora's Domain thing. Because you were like, what's that Zora's Domain thing? And you probably even forgotten about it. Nope, that's not it. And I've got it sitting behind something and hidden. Hopefully that's showing up on the camera. On the camera. What an old man. Is that coming through? I'll be okay, got it out of my system. Oh, you're a champ. And if you ever need any support, we got it. Happy to help. You've been very supportive of me, so I feel like I owe you one. Yeah, that's the Zora's Domain thing I was talking about the other day. Just the underground sort of caverns and the way it was lit up. There's a couple other images as well, but I just thought that one was just straight off the bat. You kind of see that and the way the luminous stones are glowing. It was so kind of reminiscent of the trailer. And the fact that it said Zora Cabin, and it reminded me a lot of the one in Ocarina of Time, but you don't really see that in Breath of the Wild, do you? It was just kind of like, oh, that was kind of the impetus of the whole, could Ganon be there under Zora's Domain? Yeah, there's more in here. And when I was saying about sharing the stuff, I did it for another commenter the other day because they wanted to see an image of something, and I get that not everyone's got these books, so I was like, yeah, I'll happily share it with you, but I don't want to post it on YouTube and put it in the post thing, and everyone will be like, dude, stop posting stuff, please. So I was actually saying to Sage the other day, I've got to try and find a happy medium of how I can show you someone a picture or something if they don't have the book, so they can, if they want to see that thing. Maybe they don't, but if they do, it'd be nice to follow through on it. Again, man of your word. It's important. Anyway, I think, we're definitely not coming here for the ramblings. I'd say that much. All right, so we're back on. Pura has you done her iconic move yet? And I missed a heap of that, by the way. With low-key, I was hoping Age of Calamity got a DLC teaser for Tears of the Kingdom. I want to make sure I'm reading that right, because do you know what? Either way I'm reading that sounds absolutely brilliant. I loved Age of Calamity, and I'm going to love Tears of the Kingdom. Do you mean as in more stuff for Age of Calamity, or do you mean that there would be a direct connection in Tears of the Kingdom to Age of Calamity? Because I'm going to be honest, the way I read the post from Nintendo Australia anyway, and probably in fairness, if it was Nintendo Australia, they were probably just like, yeah, we're just saying this, it doesn't matter. You can read it how you want, because they probably wouldn't have been that concerned about it. Is that they were talking about what to do with your time before Tears of the Kingdom, and this post came out like literally a day before the announcement of the Direct, and it was this one of the things they banged straight on was about Age of Calamity and seeing the history of Hyrule, and it's like, well, yeah, we're saying the game's non-canon, but you're quite happy to say it's part of the history. So yeah, I just thought it was awesome. I liked, I guess it's not canon, but it's part of the parallel universe. I think almost, I don't know if Big J's there. He's got a bit of a parallel universe thing going on. That sounds pretty sweet. But I think there's something to that. The whole, and that was like the picture I was showing the other person. If you see this thing about how Hyrule fits in with the Twilight Realm, the Dark Realm, Lorule as 3 examples, they almost all sound like you're talking about the opposite, right? Like the Dark Realm should be the opposite of Hyrule as the Light Realm, but it's technically not. It's behind it. No, wait. One of them's behind, like then you've got the Shadow Realm, then you've got Lorule, which is under, I think, and then you've got one that's behind, and it kind of, the way it's done diagrammatically looks perfectly normal, but when you think about it, you're like, that's 4th dimensional stuff straight off the bat. It's awesome. So yeah, I think Age of Calamity's, in my head, it's canon. I don't care. That story, people like it was fans, not people, everyone, but some people like fan service. I'm like, yes, thank you. I was playing with my daughter. We stood up and fist pumped when that thing happened with, Bosa and Riju, and Patricia just rocks in. It's like, Patricia. It's like, yes, this is the best game ever. Fan service, loved it. Age of Calamity gets a playable part that hints Tears of the Kingdom stuff. Like we can get magic infused monster in Tears of the Kingdom, or how Age of Calamity might deal with Tears of the Kingdom's problem. Don't discount it yet. I'd say that much. That's what I'm thinking. If they go through with where I think they're going, and based off that trailer, it's more on the cards than I thought it was, and I was pretty confident back then. I wouldn't discount the possibility of that moving forward. If Nintendo go where I think they're going to go, they're going to open up a lot more potential for these storylines moving forward. But they're going to try and usher it in a way that's still reasonably careful, because they're cautious and careful people. And you know what? Power to them for that. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I might just check that. Puro has offered to help me. So, have we got enough to upgrade? But yeah, I wouldn't discount it. They've got a series and a franchise here that's amazing, and I think the Age of Calamity thing was a fantastic experiment in what's possible with being able to, and that's kind of what I think Dragon Lord's kind of talking about, and a few other people with the Fire Emblem, the guys behind Fire Emblem and stuff, like Nintendo are collaborating a bit more with some other developers, and it's working out well, because I think they know that the 6-year cycle to get a Zelda game's pretty tough for some people. Someone pointed out in the trailer it looks to be a floating spirit orb, like what happened in Denizens of the Light Realm and Twilight Princess. Yeah, definitely possible. I missed so much. Dan and Az and Garrett were shooting stuff out. My daughter was like, look over there. I think she pointed out a maze. There was just so much cool stuff. Dan was like, Dan got me with oh my God, my brain's just gone. Re-Dead. Dan was like, there's a Re-Dead. I'm like, what? When did you see? Yeah, the Re-Dead. Oh, man. And when we finally saw it, that was more nasty than I could have dreamt it to be. That was just gold. Absolute gold. Because, you know, Re-Deads were scary in Ocarina of Time, and they were, even though Wind Waker was meant to be cutesy, they did not look cutesy at all. In fact, they were almost more creepy. It's probably a good thing there weren't too many Re-Deads in Twilight Princess, because Twilight Princess had that darkness nailed. It could have been real severe. I mean, they did have their own versions in a way, but they could have gone darker. But these ones look hard, really hard. So yeah, going back to your point, as with your younger sister there, I could get if she saw that trailer and went, nah, that's going to be a tough job. Big Blends from the DS games. Big Blends. Big J. That was the one you pointed out. It's so cool. There's so much stuff in there. And I think that's why I don't want to rush in and just point stuff out to everybody. I think I want to let myself enjoy it and look at it and go, that's cool, and then come out and I'll do a thing where I point out what I've found. But in the meantime, I was loving listening to you guys point out all the stuff that you found. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm still not paying attention. By the way, Nzipao, are you still in the chat? I'm impressed, because by now you've probably got a fairly good grasp of how this is going off track. And now I think Tiny nailed it as being the struggle is real. The struggle is real in terms of, am I going to finish a sentence, get to a point, climb a mountain? This is the most rudimentary skills at play. 3-inch shaft, yep. Don't have the necessary materials. Okay. Remote bomb. If we can get bomb plus, that would be great. Yeah, we don't have that. Okay, look, it's pretty clear we don't have the stuff for upgrades, but you know what? That's cool. We've got the Cameroon, and I'll focus for 2 seconds enough that I know that I should get a picture for Simon of a mushroom somewhere out here. I'm sure of it. There we go. I don't know if I asked him about that, but I remember doing it. Why I remember that task, I'm not sure. Probably because it was like, oh, there's a Sunshine. And we did need the Cameroon for something back at Kakariko. Again, could be critical. I tend to take a lot of direction from you guys in the chat if something's absolutely necessary. Oh no, we might need to get the task of him. But I think at some point I should probably try and move forward and get some shrines and things under the belt. That will definitely help the pain threshold because I won't fall off mountains as much if I've got more stamina. Definitely dying less now though, if you're there. Maybe you've moved on. I would totally get that. In terms of interest, you develop technology to effectively seal Ganon, the infinite evil that has plagued Hyrule throughout time. We believe this can be achieved by studying and improving upon the creations of those who came before us. What an interesting statement. Thank you, Simon. Indeed. You mean your ancestors who would have potentially meticulously documented stuff, but then were banished? But you're meticulously documenting stuff. It seems odd that you don't still have copies of that. Why, when you split up, some went to Kakariko peacefully, but what did the others do? Well, the ego didn't agree. Did they just get rid of their knowledge of technology out of spite? Doesn't make sense, does it? The runes containing your Sheikah Slate are also something she could develop. Indeed. If such a device fell into the hands of evil, I shudder to think what might happen. I think we get a good glimpse of what might happen. I think we saw about 2 odd minutes of it. This is Blood Moon on steroids. The Sheikah Slate is a device that the Sheikah ancestors developed to bring peace in Hyrule to order. They clearly just want us to play the game for ourselves when it's out. Oh, wow, I missed so much of that. I think you can tell now that Nintendo never planned to give Tears of the Kingdom a deep dive with gameplay or anything like that, but wish we knew like that 2 years ago. Yeah, I think that's kind of the point though. Again, I've got rose-coloured glasses on this one. It's real bad, so I apologise. I don't think there's a good way you can come out and go, if you start the answer from the problem, imagine you've just dropped a game that blew all of your other games in this massive franchise you've been doing for years out of the water. Like, the sales figures show you the story. They were doing well with a good game, and it's a great game. And then they did Twilight Princess, which, you know, we talked about that the other day. What could have been Wind Waker, and everyone will say Twilight Princess nailed it. Great game. And it, sales-wise, it just blew every other Zelda game out of the water. And then you have Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild makes the sales for Twilight Princess look small. So it commercially just went gangbusters. It reintroduced a whole new generation to their love of gaming, me included. How do you top that? And if you look at that question, because that would be me, I would think of it and go, oh my God, I've done, like I was saying about a video and people watched it. And then your initial reaction is, oh my God, how do I do something that's good enough that other people will want to play that again or watch that again? And the best way to tackle that problem is to do something more spectacular than the last thing that you did and blow people away. And with the same limited technology, the same Switch argument that Az is bringing up, so you don't have more hardware, how do you do that? And I think that's why it was part of a plan before Breath of the Wild even come out. They knew they had something special with the physics and the chemistry engine. I'm sure of it. And it's just addictive gameplay. I reckon it was all greenlit pretty early on. I think there was a strong plan there with Fujibashi. And I'm not saying that the plan was, yeah, when we get to this point, we're not going to tell people. But I think they would have known that if they would have give too much too soon, they need to create hype. And they need to do it in the right way. And they're competing with these absolute mammoth giants in the industry, PlayStation and Microsoft. They're graphically not even on the same wavelength technically. It's going to come down to the art of storytelling. That's kind of me anyway. That's how I justify it, is we know if I was in the playground and I'm not as strong as the big guys and I'm not as fast as they are, I'm going to maybe try to look at what skills I do have. And one skill I've had for a long time is the ability to tell a story. I can talk. So maybe I'll talk. And if I'm going to tell a story, maybe I should stop talking so much about it and just tell you the story when you need to hear it. when I can get you to sit down and listen. Do you know what I mean? Like that type of thing. I don't know. That's the weird headcanon I have for this type of stuff. Is I think they're good at telling a story. I think what they're doing really well at the moment with this series, and a lot of people would disagree, but the fact that it's topical is something, I suppose. What they are doing is finding a way to make a lot of different people find something in this game to love. That's pretty epic. Like seeing speedrunners just smash stuff out of the park. It's kind of like this playground where people get to do all this kind of fun stuff, but for people who are lore geeks like me, we can just run around here and stare at symbols on flags for hours and try and figure out what that means. And it might not mean anything, but we can entertain ourselves. And speedrunners can just smash straight into Ganon's castle, cook up some food and show us how to do it with real skills. And I've learned so much about different aspects of how to play this game just by interacting with other people. Even Big J, they're challenging me to do stuff with the parry. Initial reaction, I don't parry, I suck at it. And it was like, wait, you can't do that. You know, try it. So I'm trying it, and I still suck at it, but I'm going to keep trying it, and I might go through the whole playthrough and not get any better, but I don't want to give up on it. It's one thing, it's a really annoying saying I say in my family a lot, is that a Smith never gives up. Which, you know, sometimes maybe we should. Shipping in Hateno Village. Oh, okay, this is the Hateno Beach one. That's a good one. It's a good one. I won't do it today because I think just me trying to get around the corner is a challenge at this point. But yeah, not disagreeing with the point, Tiny. I sometimes wonder what I would do if I was in their position, and I think the choice they've made is an understandable one. I'm not saying it's the right one, but I could get it if that's what. If you were stuck with that problem, how do I top something that was so successful, and I haven't got new hardware to back it? I haven't got this new funky gadget technology. I mean, they're releasing new systems pretty quick, but that wasn't going to happen. And they would have known that. What do you do? And so the fact that when, you know, you look at Zelda Encyclopedia came out 2018, pretty much straight after Breath of the Wild come out, and as Numerius says in there, you know, we're working on the sequel already. They knew they were working on the same engine. What they maybe weren't letting us know was some of the amazing technologies and compression skills they're employing to up the ante with the multiplicative gameplay aspects. Combining the tool set to create wonderful new tools that do things that we haven't done in the past, that's just addictive and makes you want to play more, even as I'm doing right now. Dan the man, try it, the blue fire to activate the bomb. Okay, I'm going to do that, Dan, because I have not followed through on one thing on the chat today. And that's pretty poor. Sorry, I had to blow myself up just because that was hilarious. So, are you cool for me to just, like, activate it with the blue flame, like if I just kind of maybe... Yep, that should do it. Did that scratch that itch, Dan, or do you want... is there a technique I should be going for? And I say that not sarcastically. I think I sound sarcastic a lot. But I've been trying to do, like, the whistle run and stuff. Not what I expected, but it worked. Yeah, that was my thoughts too. I didn't intend it as I was walking up, and then I'm like, what happens if I do walk up with it? And it did exactly what we hoped. There's a couple of cool things you can do with the blue flame, and people react to it differently as well. And so going back to the intention of this HEROS Path playthrough, it was in my mind it was going to be all those cool things, all the things you didn't know, maybe you did hear about, but you weren't sure. I was going to like floor through it really quickly because I'm super mad skilled. And instead, wow, nothing like it. And yet for some reason, we're still going. And I think that's going to be the goal, is just keep going. At the end of it, there's a good chance I won't have any subscribers or any viewers left. And if that's the case, I'm okay with that. How could you not be okay with playing your favourite game? Oh, one of your favourite games anyway. Hey Dan, have you been playing, as out of the blue, does anyone else here do calligraphy? I don't. I love the effect of it. I know that's out of the blue, but it never hurts to ask. Yeah. By the way, if anyone is a skilled artist, if anyone can draw, and wants to draw anything, I'll gladly take any help there. But Dan, how are you going with Zelda 2, The Reckoning? Are you still working your way through? Wish I could. My handwriting isn't the best. I don't believe that, Dan. In my mind, you can lift mountains and people would hail you as king. Yeah, like you guys, the sages, just kind of rock in, kind of doing the deity thing for me. So you're good, man. You're good. Making my way to Death Mountain. Okay, so is that Death Mountain, like, we're talking, that's after the first palace Death Mountain, or no, that's not. I'm getting mixed up, aren't I? Because I know that there was Death Mountain. I'm trying to remember when Death Mountain come up in that game. Was it earlier or later? It must be later. I remember getting punished pretty early on though. Yeah, second palace. Just trying to go through the caverns. Did you do that? Because I'd forgotten all about that. Because I hadn't played it since I was like really young. No, we're not going to do that. Yeah, I hadn't played it since I was really young. And I just chucked it on just for I had like 15 minutes. It was like, hey, that's a good way to spend 15 minutes, reminisce and see what that game was like. I remember it being hard. And I did something and then went to go through the cave and just got destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. Yeah, they are brutal. And I had to switch it off because we had to go somewhere or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come back to that because that's way harder than I remember. I'm not going to get grasshoppers in this time of day probably. But yeah, brutal hard game. And it was one of those moments where you're like, I remember beating this game. I remember it being hard. What has changed so drastically that I don't even stand a chance? Oh, that's right, I got older. Yay, age. And then you see your daughter get 3 hearts and go straight to the castle like a champ. And my nephew as well, gotta say. And they're just like callous about it and carefree. Yeah, we're going to Ganon's castle. Go get some treasure. Like, I wouldn't have had the courage to do that as a child. Kids today are pretty cool. The moment you realise HEROS... Oh, wait. Yeah, caves are brutal. Yeah, welcome back. The moment you realise HEROS sitting on top of one of the largest volcanoes in existence, surrounded by a giant moat. Yeah, actually, that's a good way of looking at it, isn't it? Isn't it funny going back to that whole Hyrule Dimensions thing? Now I want to get that picture up so I can show you. It's not dimensions. They don't even call it anything. They're just kind of like the positioning of something. It's just like, yeah, again, drop the mic on a complicated topic with a very simple diagram. Guys are just amazing. This is why I couldn't be a developer like them, because I would have to release 50 games to explain what I'm about to do with a simple diagram. And I hope that was funny, because it kind of is meant to be a joke, but it's pretty accurate, I think, of what would happen. My wife would back me on that, I think. There's a reason I champion her as amazing, because I can't imagine what it's like to put up with somebody who... I mean, I know myself a lot with droning on about theory stuff and that. So she's a very patient woman. And a very supportive one at that too. What happened to the rest of the world placed a giant canyon around Hyrule. What has Ganon done with the Death Mountain in the past? Well, that was kind of that thing about the what I saw in that thing. If it's canon, because canonicity seems to be a thing these days, particularly for the poor Star Wars community. Don't want to bring that up, Darth, but you know, if you want to leverage that one, that was harsh when I learnt about that. But yeah, the whole thing with the Wind Waker and the Great Sea and the new Hyrule was kind of like, well, they exist still, but it didn't say that one replaced the other, because I suppose because it wasn't trying to address the timeline thing either. And so in some ways, it's like, well, what is across the Great Sea? Well, there's another land, and that land can be called New Hyrule. And it didn't then necessarily go, well, that's the border of the world. I don't think at any point the Zelda franchise has I hope someone can correct me on this, because it'll actually be helpful to know. I don't think they've definitively at any point said where the borders of this world were. I don't even think they've I think they've left themselves plenty of room to expand it from a realm to a conglomerate of realms to a world to a universe. That's fourth dimensional in different aspects, but also has this wonderful element of imagination. That means if it doesn't quite work out just perfectly, just think about it for a second. Your imagination could fill in blanks. That is absolute genius. Absolute genius. You've shot me in the face multiple times in just a few moments. Did I? Well, sorry, dude. I didn't mean to do that. What happened there? Oh, we might have been talking to Oath. Oh, phew. I was just rambling. I didn't mean to shoot anyone in the face. I didn't mean to shoot you in the face with boredom. I'm on it. I'll own that one. Look, it's the Zonos Well. The Zonos Well. By the way, I don't mean to laugh about it so much. I think a lot of people have got a good sense of humour about it. It's just so everywhere in the series. Like, the more you look, the more you see it. I was looking at that thing for Rodimus, and just trying to navigate there, and it was immediately around that platform. There was the Zonal swells everywhere. It's like, oh my god, the Zonal ruins Skyward Sword too. If you were that way inclined. But I have to tap out of things like that, because honestly, there's a pillar on the side of that wall where I thought I saw a dragon's face. And I'm like, yeah, I've got to stop looking at this stuff. It's starting to get really... It's getting a little bad. I need to check back into reality, go out and touch some grass. And I think that was another thing. I think in that video last night, a lot of that was me just making points to myself. Because I'm like, I didn't expect... I was like, yeah, the Nintendo Direct's coming. And then it hit, it's like, oh my god, Nintendo Direct coming. Just went instant fanboy, overly excited, giddy, don't know what to do. Was trying to do something work-wise, and literally all I could hear in my brain was Zelda, 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 Zelda. Which was awesome. But then I'm like, you're going to burn yourself out in like 10 minutes, like a kid in a candy store. So how are you going to approach this? Just calm down, try and do a bit of balance, have a bit of a plan, step away, and then for some silly reason, it made sense that actually that might help somebody else if they were also just like, wow, I've been waiting for this game for 6 years, and I thought I'd be excited, but now I'm like, how am I going to not go over the top with myself? I feel you on the burnout. Yeah. What do they say about those bright flames, Tiny? It's the thing, isn't it? And the problem is, and it's not an excuse, it's just, I don't think sometimes, it's not that you can't help it, you're trying to learn or trying to do better at not pushing yourself too hard, but when you're passionate about something, or you give your word, or it means something to you, you want to do your best. And it's hard to see something wrong with trying to put effort into something, but it's that concept of knowing that you also need to keep yourself well. And that's one thing I think fatherhood has been a massive educator for me on. And I say in that, I think my daughter is probably 2 to 3 times more emotionally intelligent than I am, and I couldn't be prouder of her for it. She can get upset by something, but she doesn't let it get her down as much, which is, she's got a strength. Also though, I think she gets some of that from her amazing mum, who is also extremely strong. Checking back on the chat, I don't think I'm burnt out. If anything, I feel it's finally getting started. That's good to hear, Darth. You know what? That is good to hear, my brother, because you got a lot of good stuff to offer. What do you want for Christmas, Tiny? Fucking break. To quote me. Okay, you know, I've said this a few times, Tiny. Kindred spirit, right? Like, every time you say something, I'm like, yeah, I get that. It's like you channeling me in lots of ways. So my wife will tell you every time I get asked what I want, I say time. That's literally the answer. Is I just want time. I don't want a gift. I don't need any more material objects in my life. I just want time. I don't mean like endless amounts of time. I'm not wanting to Brad Pitt, interview with the vampire or anything. It's just time to do the things that matter. Like this, like getting taken out by a moblin. Like I say, I can't draw very well, but I'm sure if I spent more time practicing, I could do better. Why wouldn't you want to do artistic things that are creative and enriching and fulfilling? Time allows you to do a lot of things that feed the soul and also get work done. And that makes you feel good because you feel like you're accomplishing something. People like to feel valued. I'm realising this is becoming quite the rant of a person who's been blown away by a Zelda thing and is all like, here's some philosophy out of my Chinese food container that I didn't eat Chinese food, by the way. It's just trying to say it was that sort of takeout, I'm tired, so it's coming out real lazy type attitude. So I apologise for that. Rocks back and forth after being shot in the face. There's never been a world map for Zelda. There's never been a world... Oh, so it was me. Sorry about that. There might have been. Don't quote me on that. Again, everything I say is unsubstantiated unless confirmed by somebody way smarter than me. That's usually why I like to check things. If we wonder why I spend so many hours researching something, it's usually because when I find something and then I can't find somebody else has verified that, it worries me. It worries me to a point where I will overly investigate it because surely someone out there is smarter and has already looked at that. And I've come to the understanding, by the way, that is actually the case. It's just whether you found where that person's documented it or whether you know them or whatever that might be. I mean, the internet, in terms of our culture, is still relatively young. It was introduced in my youth. So, unfortunately, you don't get to see the records of other people's thoughts, do you? But, yeah. There could be world maps. Whether there's a consistent one, I don't think I've stumbled across it in the current portfolio of books that I have. That said, every time I open those books, I see something new that I didn't notice before. And that's where the rabbit holes go. So playing a game like this is great because it's just one rabbit hole after another. You just notice another thing. Alright. Okay. I realised I was not following through. Oh, I'm not even holding a shield. Big J, if you see this, that was pretty poor. Went in for the parry, no shield. Okay. Yep, much better. You just gotta relax, I think. I think if you go in too uptight, your timing's off. Like there, that was terrible, but relax, take a deep breath. No. Practice and deep breaths. Yep, that's the key. Crazy how she was already getting their analysis out. Yeah, it is. Scary when you think that a lot of prep work would have already gone into having the templates and things ready to, you know, make it quicker, which I can guarantee you I have not done any of that on my end. And I should be doing it because it would be smart and it would save me time in the long run. And instead I generally always just go, I could do that, or I could work on this video and get it out. And then I've done that video and then I'm done. And then I do the video and realise I need to do another one later. It's like I don't think one video ahead of the other, even though I've got more theories lining up. This is how you can be 100% convinced this isn't a strategic plan to become a full-time YouTuber. This is a passion project through and through. Hence the extensive levels of appreciation and gratitude. Definitely having a, I think we were saying about this the other day, with Garrett and stuff as well, having an understanding of marketing as a background. There's no way I'd be doing this if I was trying to actually do this for a longer term plan for something. Don't get me wrong, if that is what comes of it, because in some weird way naturally it was meant to be, that the painful progress of watching somebody rationalise why they love a game and playing it, if that's a thing that the world needs at that particular time, enough that it became something, I'd labour the point because it just sounds ridiculous. To me anyway. Then, yeah, I'd be down like a clown for that, but I don't quite think that is the case. But in the meantime, what a heck of a lot of fun it is to play the game and hang out with mates. And I live in one of the most remote places in the world. So having the ability to chat with people who like the same thing as you is not all that common, believe it or not. It's a pretty exciting thing. So you're like, yay, somebody else likes this thing too. It's not like we don't have people in WA, it's just when you're an adult you don't get out and meet people as much, do you? I've got friends, we just don't get to see each other as much, we work a lot. But my friends like these games as well. And in case you're wondering, I don't really, there's one or two of them that know about it or whatever, but I don't really make a point of telling them, hey, watch, because I would be uber embarrassed if they saw how I'm playing this game right now. They would know I'm much better at it normally. One friend could tell you stories about me playing Tony Hawk's and obsessing over hitting every grind, completionist to a fault. My hype has overflowed since the trailer. Interesting terminology, Big J. It's overflowed. Has it overflowed? Hey, Dragonlord. Has it overflowed as in you've overflowed to tiredness? Because I'm pretty there. Like I'm thinking I might hit this tower, wrap it up. I'm rambling at this point. I don't even know if I'm adding any value to anybody. I was just trying to make sure I progressed something while I was philosophically spewing out words. But I think that was kind of part of the plan for me, was just to go, yeah, that was awesome. Do you like that as a opponent in a sequel? Yeah. Man, and how good were you at pointing out I'm not going to remember the name, but the bat-like creature. And you and Dan and Garrett were on it. That was such a good pick. Well done. Kagnarok. Why do I want to say Kagnarok? It's not a Kagnarok. Is it true that Tony Hawk was retiring completely from the board? Oh, I wouldn't know. I don't. I literally avoid the news these days, just because it got to a point where it was just bringing me down all the time. So I subscribe. Or the news I get is anything like about, say, if it's an archaeology discovery, or things where they're actually trying to do things to help people. I stay in touch with that sort of stuff, and I try and avoid the main news as much as I can. So I don't get a lot of the other stuff. I miss out on stuff really badly. In fact, one side consequence that I didn't know about what was happening to a friend of ours, obviously, on the other side of the world. And so when I saw the comment, it was heartbreaking. And so, yeah, ignorance is bliss, but ignorance is also not bliss in some ways, I think. We don't know if it's a pony yet. No, we don't. But you know what? Go with the headcanon if you are sure it is. Believe. Oh, it could be. Could be. I like that with the horses as well. What's the one? They say it's Ganon's horse, but it's kind of written in a way. It's like it's not 100% like it's Ganon's horse, but pretty much could be. So yeah, loving that. Absolutely loving that. What I did want to say though before the end of the stream, I wanted to know what your standout moment was. Like what was the one that hit you the hardest? Like it could be anything in the direct. It could be something that wasn't in the trailer. It could just be how you were shocked about something. What was your moment? Because to be honest, for me, the best part about doing this is learning what other people like, because I find that really cool. So Darth, Mount not my, MT not my, Mount not my. If that's a shortcut, I'm going to have to admit to not knowing it. But, yeah. I realise there's a delay, by the way, if it looks like I'm just standing here awkward. That it was 2:19 long. 2 minutes 19. Oh, yeah, 2 minutes. Yeah, I thought it was about, when Big J said that, I was, what? Felt like it went in 10 seconds, so I thought a minute 30 was pretty safe. Scroll up, Tony said something. Wait. Did you like the opponent? Breath of the Wild, is it true? Oh, that we don't know if it's opponent. Oh, Tiny was asking if opponent's in based on Dragon Lord's thing. Is that what we were bouncing off there? Oh no. Level 5 and Leighton's big return. Oh yeah, I saw the Leighton. That was cool. And that was in that bit where everyone was like, oh, we're not going to see the Zelda stuff. And it was like, hey, Leighton's building. You could tell when Leighton popped up there. I again never got to play the game. This list of games that you want to play. Despite wanted a gameplay segment. Yeah, that's probably one thing where they didn't give as much. I would definitely acknowledge that. When I say it was just a solid smash out of the park. For people looking for the gameplay, yeah, that's probably a gap I failed to acknowledge. Fair call. No, how Mount Lanayru isn't in Lanayru province. Darth. In which game? In Breath of the Wild? Because technically, Lanayru is shifting all the time. It's like shifting sands, literally, which is kind of a bit of a joke. Triumphant music that we also heard in the 2021 trailer. Yep. Wanting. God, I'm tired, lol. Oh, yeah, I hear you there. Check the map. Mount Lanayru is in the clip. Yeah, I know. I'm referring to another aspect of it in another game, which is also interesting. Worth checking out. Definitely. While we're up here, just trying to take note, and if we go back to that hero's path aspect, probably a good opportunity for us to just quickly put the heroes mode on. Give it a bit of a run while checking the comments. We all tired. Everyone's tired. And that was the idea, right? Just come in. We've all run around. We're like kids. We got out in the playground. We had fun. Played chasey. Ran up and down the playground. We stood on the top of the playground and punched our fists in the air because we got what we wanted, and it was awesome. And you know what? Felt the breeze on our face, touched some grass. That is as good as it gets. And savouring that moment is the best opportunity you got. I gave somebody the other day the advice to try and capture the moment for as much as you can, because I say they're fleeting. I mean that wholeheartedly. For anyone who's ever lost somebody in their life, it's amazing how this iconic game is something that can remind you of them a lot. Sadly, no one played Kick the Can. Yeah, good call. Yeah, for me, it always brings back memories. So, and good memories too. Look at that! Look, one death after another. That was the Big Stone Talus. That was where things got real. You knew what that was, yeah. Oh, I knew what that was. That was where I was certain I was not going to do another stream after I got off the mic. I was guaranteed that was it. That was the most embarrassing gameplay of my life. And when I finished, I turned to my wife, who is the smartest woman in the world, because she sees things that I don't. And I went, I'm not even sure I could do YouTube anymore after that. How embarrassing. And she said, I thought it was fun. And just instantly makes things better. And I went, wow, I didn't think of it like that. It could be fun if you're watching it from the aspect of this is just tragically terrible, but maybe it's like maybe you'll achieve the mundane. And then it kind of makes sense. It's good. Cool. So yeah, we got some main things that people got out of it. Big J with the triumphant music that we heard in the 2021 trailer. For me, getting to share the experience with you guys, that was and with my wife and daughter as well. I can tell you the greatest thing I'm looking forward to when the game comes out is the fact that they will get to play the game, and I haven't played it enough to ruin it and tell them how awesome it is before they play it. They can own that themselves. That's amazing. But yeah, for someone who couldn't and still doesn't quite understand how they're lucky enough to have cool friends on the other side of the world chipping in and hanging out, spending time, and that's what I really consider this to be. It's kind of nice. That was a momentous occasion, and I'm pretty lucky. So I think that's a good point for us to wrap it up today. It was that's why I wanted to come back and push on and just not necessarily hit. Like, I know there's a big rush, like what happened with that, and I nearly got sucked in straight after the trailer too. It was like so much stuff there. I think I just wanted to just breathe in and just go, that was a cool moment, and thank you guys for sharing it. When we catch up next, in whatever degree that is, I just want to know more about what you dug about it and what you are excited about. I think that'll be a good place to start. And, you know, as for what I take out of it, I'll probably put that in a video. That's how we met. But when we talk, let's talk about what you like. That'd be a good way of doing it, I think. So yeah. Anyway, always good to hang out with you guys. Ain't cool, you are on the awesome path. No. We debate this, by the way. I keep saying to my missus, not a YouTuber, not a Zelda tuber. There's someone who's masquerading in the role as a time being until people figure out what's going on. But you know, for as long as I'm doing it, it's great. When I say, by the way, there's no secret meaning behind that. When I say figure out what's going on, it's just like, it's crazy. I think it's crazy. It's just lucky. Lucky it's hanging out with mates. Good times. Thanks for streaming. Good night. Good night to you, Tony. And I'm sorry that you're having a tough time, by the way. That's you ever need any support, reach out. Happy to hear it. And Tony, you need to get Discord. Darth, Not everybody wants to be on Discord. You don't have to get on Discord. Darth, he's the Discord. He's like, let's get on Discord. I've been not as thorough on there as I should be over time, so I don't probably push it as much because I feel like it's a bit of an expectation if you don't want to be on there all the time. These guys have got it though. They're great to talk to, and to be fair, I'll get on there to chat with them, and that's why I am. And Dragon Lord, yep, thanks Dan, thanks for being a champ, and you'll beat Death Mountain soon. Hey, just knowing that you're trying it, honestly, I think about it at least probably 2 or 3 times a day. I'm like, Dan's doing it. It's awesome. It makes me smile. Dragon Lord Cedric, Nintendo is taking ideas from Red Dead Redemption 2, which has animals hunting other animals. Oh, nice. You got some insights there. I called Red Dead Redemption 2 as an influence, I think, in one of the first videos, actually. To be fair, that was literally pointed out in an interview that they were playing the game and they loved it. So why wouldn't you? It's a pretty cool game. Darth, I'm not trying to push it. No, I don't mean that, Darth. Sorry. I am so bad with wording. I mean, like, I feel neglectful. So I don't like to say to people, yeah, jump in Discord. And then I'm like, hey, I'm not here for a week because I'm lame at keeping up with social media. Yeah. If people are there and they're on there for, like, the right sort of stuff and that, I think that's where I found peace with it. I feel like I should be in there a lot more. Anyway, rambling on like an old man, and that's certainly not what you're in Zelda for. But Hero's Path, look, did we accomplish something today? We did. We got a tower, and I think we got the Cameroon. In the big scheme of things, pretty poor effort, but we'll take it. What's happening stream-wise moving forward? I'd like to say another one tomorrow, maybe, but I might wait and see how I go, just with some other stuff as well. So don't quote me on it, but again, no pressure to do anything. And you know, one of my favourite things, like when Oath will come in and go, what did I miss? It's like nothing, because you don't miss anything. It's good. It's good. Like, it's real no pressure stream, I think. You could literally miss hours of it. Nothing happens. But to you guys, thank you so much for making what was an epic, momentous point in time in history. And you can say it's just a game, but you know what? It's united some great people together to be friends. And loving the voice, loving your paint. It's all good. And people coming together to share passions. And maybe for some people that don't get to share those passions with a lot of people, that means a lot. It certainly does for me. So thanks for making it special. And yeah, keep being amazing. Have a good night. And yeah, get stuck into it. Check that trailer out. There's going to be so much good content out there to watch. So enjoy it. I will be ignoring it. And it's not because I'm not trying to watch it, because I can't wait to watch some of the stuff. I'll have to watch HMK's reaction just because I want to see the excitement level. But yeah, if I'm not bouncing off every idea, it's because I'll just want to give myself a bit of time just to have a look at it and just look at it with fresh eyes for that brief moment of time before I realise how much I've missed when somebody else points it out. Yeah. You guys look after yourselves. It was really something cool, and thank you so much. And yeah, have a great rest of your day. See you next time.